Welcome to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple. We are your hosts, Dana and Dana.
And I'm your guest, Kelly.
Yes. So today we have the lovely Kelly Stephenson joining us from Found Collective.
Oh my gosh, thank you for inviting me today,
you're
Dana.
so welcome. Oh my gosh, first time on the show?
I feel like such an idiot being interviewed.
No, you should
on
feel
my
like
own podcast.
so proud because, yeah, I can't wait for my turn. No, not really. I can. I
You're
can
next.
Well, we've got Kelly here from Found Collective today to talk to us all about styling, coordination, planning, everything that kind of goes into a wedding from her business. So thank you so much for joining us, and we love having you. We've got a wealth of knowledge here with your 6 years experience in the industry. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I feel weird being on the other side.
We're going to ask you all the hard questions today, Kelly.
Oh, okay.
So are you ready for the first one?
I hope so.
So normally I would ask you, Kelly, how you got into the industry, but we've already covered that in episode 1. So if people want to listen to that, which is a really good episode, they should go back to episode 1 and they can hear all about how you became a wedding stylist.
Okay.
So let's get into the questions. So what do you love the most about your job? Like, what is the best part?
The best part is the people, for sure, which I think everyone says.
Yeah.
You know, every supplier, I know you wouldn't do it if you didn't love the people you got to work
true.
with. And I mean the couples, but also the suppliers that I get to work with, the other creatives. I guess the best part about, like, my favourite part about it is obviously not only the people but the creative outlet, and just the fact that being a part of someone's wedding day is such a positive experience, such a happy, memorable day in their life, and it just feels really special to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think the best part, like if I think about the best moment, it would be on the wedding day, you know, seeing that vision and months of planning just come to life and just, you know, and it's not just me and my team, it's a whole team of suppliers that execute that, and it's just such a cool thing to, I guess, witness.
Yeah.
And then seeing the couple see it for the first time.
Yeah, that was special.
So that's probably my favourite part, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really good. So what is the difference between a wedding planner and a wedding stylist?
So it's a good question, and I do get asked that a bit because I think some people are like, what even is a stylist? You know, like, what is that? So a stylist, the best way to describe it, I would say, is a stylist is going to be like a creative visionary. So they're going to be – I always explain it to people by saying that we're going to be looking at all the visual elements of your wedding day and just creating a concept that reflects you as a couple, reflects whatever – I guess you guys want in terms of what trend, whether it's a trend or whether it's just something unique to you, and coming up with a creative concept. So I suppose to elaborate on that, it's all the visual things you see when you walk into a wedding and really making sure that all of those things are cohesive.
Yeah.
So they all go really well together, and you just create that, I guess you create that experience for people to walk into that's really amazing visually.
Yeah.
But you also, I think it gives people a good feeling as well. It's not just like visual, but you walk in and it just makes you feel amazing.
Yeah. I suppose you would really work then with the couple's vision, with how that works in with the venue then as well, with how, like, where to put things and things like that. And if, like, you know, obviously like fire hydrants and like hiding things that are a bit not as aesthetically pleasing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's so many things you have to consider when you think about styling. You've got to think about the style of the venue, if it clashes with the style of, you know,
the colour of the walls and things.
What the couple want. And it's like, I'll just be honest and say, like, you know, I really don't think that's going to go well with your venue.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, a planner, I would say, looks after all the logistical things. So there is a bit of crossover. I, as a stylist, I still look after logistical things as well. But often the planner, like if you have a wedding planner that's solely a wedding planner, they will look after just logistics. So they're not going to be coming up with creative concepts and colour palettes and things like that. But, you know, some people cross over and do a bit of both. So there's not really black and white. I think it's important if you're shopping around, I guess, like if you're looking for – if you feel like you need more help with making sure everything's cohesive and, you know, you're not sure, like you don't feel like you're a very creative person, you're really good at the organising side of your wedding, you probably need a stylist. If you feel like you're really great at coming up with creative ideas but you suck at the planning, then you probably need a planner. And then there's some people that are a bit in between, like I've got a client at the moment who's an interior designer and she's really creative, but she works in like a different industry. So she's not really sure how to be creative when it comes to a wedding. So she's a creative person, but she's like, I think I want a stylist to help me with this because I haven't ever planned a wedding before, so I don't really know how to go about it. So a planner is more likely to get involved in, you know, I guess logistically sourcing and booking appointments and things for you for like maybe your wedding dress or suits, or helping you source celebrants and maybe even venues, musicians, DJs, bands. Like they're going to get involved in a lot of the other suppliers as well as probably some styling suppliers. But obviously they're not really going to get as involved in the creative vision. Some of them probably are if they have that, you know, if they offer that service. There is crossover there. But so whereas like a stylist will, speaking from my own personal experience, a stylist will look after all the visual elements. So like we would come up with that concept and then source the best suppliers to execute that vision. And those suppliers will usually be like a florist, stationery, decor, soft furnishings, you know, anything you can see, lighting, anything that creates that atmosphere, I suppose.
Oh, so good. So when it comes to then, like when I think about the actual wedding day, can you tell me the difference between the venue coordinator and an on-the-day coordinator?
Yeah, so I think it is, again, dependent on the venue and the on-the-day coordinator and what they offer. But I suppose the on-the-day coordinator, if you're hiring an on-the-day coordinator, they're there to work just for you. So they're not working for the venue.
Yeah.
Obviously they're, you know, working with the venue, but they're there just to look after you. So often some of the on-the-day coordinators will be with you from the very start of your day to the very end, and they're there just as your PA for the day, I guess I would describe it. So, you know, some of them come along with their emergency kits and, you know, they're there to help hold your dress or, you know, just do whatever needs to be done. They might do deliveries for you. They might help put the buttonholes on for the boys, and, you know, I shouldn't say the boys because sometimes, you know, women might like to wear a buttonhole too. So, you know, they're there to service you, and then they're there to make sure that everyone turns up at the right time, the timeline runs smoothly. Yeah, I think that kind of explains it. The venue coordinator is obviously there to work for the venue first and foremost, and the couple. So I guess their main focus is obviously still making sure your day runs perfectly and making sure that, you know, the suppliers know when they need to arrive and when they need to pack everything up. But I suppose they're not going to be at your house at the start of the day with an emergency kit. They're not, you know, making sure mum has what she needs and dad has what he needs, and just all of those little things that you might need. So I suppose if it's something that you feel you need from the start of the day when you wake up in the morning to the very end, then you probably need an on-the-day coordinator. So I suppose that's the best way to describe the difference.
There'd probably be like different packages for those as well, though, I would say, like, because if you want somebody there from when you wake up or like in the morning to like when all the formalities are over at the reception, then it's a really long time. So you'd expect, I guess, to pay a premium for that as well.
I think so. And I think that I think there would be different levels of packages. Yeah. I don't personally offer on the day coordination as a sole service. We offer some coordination aspects and planning aspects as part of our styling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kelly, I'd love for you to talk to me about what exactly a stylist does and what the benefit is of using a stylist.
Sure. The first thing we do is find out what the vibe is of our couple. Do they want bold colour or do they want soft and feminine and neutral, or, really understanding our client, and then, finding out, what their kind of inspiration is or their vision for their wedding. And then from there we would go and start to, I guess, source different inspiration, maybe elevating the inspiration that they've shown us by coming up with some new and creative ideas that they might not have thought of. So that's kind of the creative process, coming up with a colour palette that kind of complements their vision as well. And then from there, once we've done that, we'll put together like a mood board and a concept and colour palette for their day. This is how I work. I don't know if every stylist works this way. Get the couple's approval of that. They might come back and say, well, it's a little bit too out there, or like I want, to change it a little bit. And then once we've got the concept and mood board and colour palette all confirmed, we go and source all of those suppliers. We might meet with them, we share the mood board and concept with them, make sure everyone's on board with that. We might have site visits. Well, we generally always have site visits, various meetings with those suppliers as needed. Generally we'll have a meeting with the florist, sometimes the stationery, lots of that stuff goes on, lots and lots of hours of planning. So we still do have an element of planning. And then as it gets closer to the wedding date, that's when, me specifically, I don't know if every stylist does this, but I'll start to talk about the logistical side of things with all the suppliers, making sure they know when they need to deliver or come and set up and bump in, bump out, all that sort of stuff. And then we're also there on the day. So we're there all day. Sometimes it's a 2-day setup. Sometimes it's 3 days, depending on the scale. So we're there with our team. We're steaming linen. We're polishing cutlery. We're making sure there's no marks on the glassware. There's lots of little things that go into the day that we do. So, we don't want to leave creases and like fold lines in all the linen and stuff like that. So, yeah, we execute the whole setup in terms of all the styling elements, furniture, linen, tableware, decor, and it depends on what package the couple book. And then I guess usually we're there until the ceremony finishes. Mm-hmm. If there's bits and pieces we need to move in from ceremony to the reception area, we'll do that. And then usually we call it a day by that point and leave.
Have a glass of wine.
The venue or the bar staff or the caterer usually run the night from then on.
Mm-hmm. So the other part to that question is like, what is the benefit of working with a stylist?
Yeah, so I think that it's the relationships that we have in the industry, the shortcuts. We know we go straight to the best suppliers. Mm-hmm. We often get discounts from suppliers that we work with regularly. There's a bit of a myth that, we just like want to work with our mates, but it's, I wouldn't say that. I mean, yes, we become mates with our other suppliers, but it's people that we trust, that we know, like I said, are going to produce quality work. But in terms of discounts, like, often with a lot of furniture suppliers and things that we go to, we get a discount and I pass that discount on to my clients because I figure I charge a service fee. I'm charging for my time, so I pass on those benefits. So some of them you get up to 15% off, which is really good.
It's really good.
And then, I don't know if every stylist works that way. Some of them might price differently and they might price a little bit lower in their service fee, but they might keep that 15%, as a bit of a kickback for them, a commission. But, yeah, so everyone kind of works differently. But that's probably the biggest benefit, I think. And then also having someone come up with creative concepts for you and source the supplies for you and save you time if you're in a busy job or you've got busy lives. It's all under control and everything's going to come together really cohesively.
Yeah, you've got somebody to talk to as well.
Somebody on your team.
Yes, you need someone in your corner when you're planning a wedding, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love for you to tell me how you work with a florist, like what do they do versus what you do? Yes,
that's a good question, Dana. So, I mean, I feel like it's very obvious to me what the difference is, but maybe it's not to everyone else. So usually I will come up with the concept and mood board and colour palette and all those things like I discussed with the couple, and then we'll source the florist that we think is best to, I guess, execute that vision. So at that point, you know, engaging the florist, sharing the mood board, the florist does everything to do with the flowers. So they'll work with us, you know, with coming up with ideas, like if we're going to discuss different ideas and that sort of thing. But I guess the easiest way to describe it is the florist does all the floristry stuff, so sourcing the flowers to execute that vision. Some florists even source candles if you know, they've got certain things that we think will tie in. But generally it's just the flowers side of things. So they'll look after all of that and the execution and the setup of all those elements, whereas most stylists don't actually do the floristry side of things. But there are some stylists that do both. So I certainly don't know how they have time because I would be so stressed if I had to do, you know, manage all the styling and all the suppliers and everything, and then also do all the flower setup. So I think you'd need a pretty big team if you're doing both. Yeah.
Do stylists have like their main florist that they work with?
We have our preferred, and that's because we have seen the quality of their work. We know that they're great to work with, they're professional, they're experienced, their pricing's at the right level. So, yeah, usually we just have our preferred ones, and it might just be that we have, you know, they're reliable and we've worked with them a lot and we know what we're getting. And we know we can trust that we're going to get quality product and a quality outcome.
Yeah, and you want that for your couples, absolutely.
Yeah, and I suppose working with a florist that you've never worked with before, you just don't know what you're going to get, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes it hard.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, where do you tell your couples to draw inspo from for their weddings?
So I love Pinterest just because it's a visual –
it's beautiful.
Minefield.
Yeah.
So Pinterest is a really great tool for inspiration, not only for weddings but for your home and fashion and everything. But that's probably one of the key places. Instagram, you know, social media, wedding blogs, wedding magazines. Hello, May. But also, you know, drawing inspiration from fashion and like colours that they're drawn to that might be, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be on trend, but just I often tell them to think about what colours do you like to wear. That can sometimes help guide them on what they want for their wedding in terms of colours, but also travel and architecture. And, you know, you think about all the trends that, you know, we're seeing in the last couple of years, and arches have been a really massive trend in the wedding industry. Yeah. And that's like Roman. When I think about arches, I think about like Rome and all the architecture there. Yeah. So I think that I don't think couples go, oh, I'm going to go and look at some architecture and that's going to help me with my wedding. Yeah. But I think some couples do draw inspiration from places they've travelled overseas or wherever, and they might have really liked the feeling that they got being in that place. And so I did a wedding for a couple who were like, we really want like a New York urban moody vibe crossed with Greek islands. And I was like,
oh, how do you do that?
I was a bit like, that's going to take a while that hurts my brain. But I feel like we achieved it in our own like unique way because the venue they chose was a bit Greek islands vibes, and then we created a real clash of styles, and it was really fun concept to work on because, you know, we had black accents, but then we had like bougainvillea, like in the Greek islands you have that really bright pink bougainvillea flower.
Okay, yeah.
Flower or ivy vine type. I don't know. I'm not a florist. So we incorporated a bit of that colour from the Greek islands into a bit of a moody vibe.
Yeah, I think I can imagine that now actually. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, so it's people draw inspiration from all sorts of places, but even like interior and home stuff. Yeah. You know, a wedding that we did together, Ali, she's got like her whole house decked out with like like accents of teal and like, you know, she wanted to bring that colour into her wedding. So
and that's so nice too because it's an element of who she is.
Yeah, and she said the house she grew up in, you know, her mum, everything was like burnt orange and teal and like, you know, she drew inspiration from that and that's really cool. And then I had another couple who her mum has like a cottage B&B type place in the hills and she's got all these beautiful like Moroccan rugs and aisle runners and
that's nice.
So we kind of like she really was inspired by her mum's, I guess, interior styling at her bed and breakfast and then we ended up using some of those aisle run Moroccan rugs and things as part of their wedding ceremony. So
that's really nice. It's really special to have such a unique touch. And, like personalised, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many places you can draw inspo from.
I suppose that's where like wedding trends come from as well. Like when people, I guess like we've seen the wave come through and so the wave is really trendy at the moment and somebody obviously brought that in and thought of it or even though a wave is something that's been around for centuries.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I don't know where that came from, but that scalloped kind of
but it's
design is really like it's almost taking over from the arch at the moment.
Yeah.
I wonder what's next. We had the hexagon. Remember the hexagon arbors? They were in for a while. Then we had the circle arbors.
Of course, yeah.
And then it's arch.
I had to think really hard what a hexagon was.
I know. And now I'm like, well, there was the hex, the circle.
Maybe it's going to be square or maybe triangle. No, triangle's been in. You know,
octagon.
That's very similar, isn't it? To
I don't know. Maybe we should come up with one.
Animal-shaped arbors.
Oh, like dinosaurs or
like or dogs.
A T-Rex.
Yeah, just like a small dog.
That wouldn't be weird at all. That would not. Honestly, what do you think, Doug? What's going to be next?
I think dodecahedron.
What is that?
How many sides?
I can't even remember. I just remember the name. I think maybe 12, but I probably shouldn't say.
Maybe people will have like a full dome shape. Like,
you know what they could have? They could have like the outline of each person in the couple, their face, like but together with a heart in the middle. We should do an episode where we try and guess the next trends and then like see if people draw inspo from our podcast and then make that happen.
Do it.
Can you imagine? So Kelly, how soon should a couple book in their stylist for their wedding?
As soon as humanly possible.
So 4 years in? No.
No, I think the sweet spot is 12 to 18 months out. I generally don't like starting to work with my couples on styling until around the 12-month mark because I find that otherwise their taste changes. They see so many wedding seasons come through and trends change so quickly that if we start working together on a concept 18 months out, 6 to 8 months in, they're going to see this new trend come in, like going from arches to scalloped waves. And they're going to be like, I just saw all these weddings and, you know, these colours that look amazing and now I just want to change it all. So I think booking as far out as possible is good because we do book up, you know, 1 to 2 years ahead. But 12 to 18 months would be like a good guide, I think. We can sometimes, like every supplier says, we can sometimes take last minute bookings on, but it's usually tricky if it's in peak season. You know, if you came to me 6 months out and you wanted a Saturday in November, it's highly unlikely.
So Kelly, how do couples know the right stylist for them?
I think you need to look at their work like any supplier. You need to feel like you love their aesthetic and the work that they've produced, but also read reviews, you know, make sure that you think they're the right fit for you. And then I think have a chat with them, whether that's over the phone or face-to-face or over Zoom, and make sure your personalities gel. And I think they're the key things, like making sure you love the work that they've produced. Do you like them as a person? Do you feel like you can work well together and have they got positive reviews and do you feel, I guess, that you can trust them? I mean, it's a big deal. It's your wedding.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And you will spend a lot of time with them as well.
Yep. We're going to be your besties by the end of it.
So Kelly, tell us about some of the smaller details that you cover for the wedding.
Removing cobwebs. No. No, I really have done that before.
Yeah.
Because
no poo.
I moved some furniture at a venue and there was like redbacks and cobwebs behind it, and I was like,
oh, that's gross.
Getting the dustpan and broom. We do, gosh, there's so many little things, but I guess the little details are like, steaming the linen, tablecloths, and like I said before, making sure that the cutlery's, polished and looks great. Putting out the stationery menus and place cards. We even place the flowers often. Sometimes the florist will do that, and sometimes we do it together, or sometimes my team will do it. Often we move things from ceremony to reception as well to reuse flowers and stuff like that. So we often do that. So I've even helped, some of my brides get out of the car when they arrive, and little things like that. I know that's probably more of a planner thing, but often that's the best part of the day for me when I see the couple arrive or the bride arrive, and, just helping them and their bridesmaids get down the aisle and that sort of stuff as well.
So Kelly, tell me about how much couples should expect to pay for a stylist.
So this is a hard one to answer because every stylist, it will vary based on what services we offer, because we all offer different things. Some stylists offer more in terms of what's in their packages than others. So it will really vary. But I think if you're based in South Australia and you're looking at an experienced, established stylist, you'd be looking at minimum $5,000 service fee for their starting package. I would say that's, 5 to 6. And then I think upwards from there if they've got more inclusions in their packages. So some stylists offer styling and planning. So, if you're looking at the full service, you'd be looking anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000, I think.
Yeah.
So I think if you go to Melbourne and Sydney, like, the bigger states and the eastern seaboard, you'd be paying a lot more than that as well. So I've heard of that some stylists, even in SA, I've heard that some charge, around 12, 15 and 1,000. And I think it does depend again on what's included, and that's a service fee. So just to clear that up, I do get asked sometimes like, what do we get? Do we get anything for that? Do we get decor included or anything? Generally no, because it's a lot of hours. It's hundreds of hours of our time. So it's paying us for our labour basically and our time. So some stylists include discounts on hire of their items, or they might have little things that they include that are part of that fee. But majority of the time it's a service fee, but you're paying for our time and our expertise.
And they were worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kelly, just one final question for you. What advice would you give to a couple planning their wedding?
I would say don't do it now. I'm kidding.
Just live together.
Elope.
Buy a house. No.
No, I love elopements, but I love big weddings too. I would say, and it's so cliche, we always say it on this podcast, but it's so important to do things your way. It's so easy to get all these opinions coming at you when you're planning your wedding. Try to, I guess, focus on the two of you and what's important to you.
Yeah.
Forget about the traditions. Like, don't do a cake cutting if you don't really know why you're doing it. Like, don't have a cake if you don't really like cake.
Yeah.
Like, have a different dessert, or don't do dessert at all. Like, just do it your way. And there's no rules. And couples often ask me, like, what do people usually do with this? Or how should people do it? Like, how should we do this? And I'm like, well, how do you want to do that? Like, most people do this, but that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Even with the first look, with the photos sort of thing, people are like, oh, well, what should we do? Should we do the first look or shouldn't we? It's like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You guys need to talk about that as a couple and decide what you want to do. And here's the benefit of this and here's the benefit of doing, that. So there's so many things that you could do, and there's so many different ways you could do them with your wedding. But I think it's just so important to be true to yourselves, because it's your day. At the end of the day, it's not your mum, your dad's, your, Auntie Sue's day. So just be true to yourselves. So lame and cliche, but it's so true.
But it is so true. Absolutely. And it's what we absolutely encourage here at the Wedding Edit as well, doing things your way, your day, your way.
Yeah, totally. If you want to get married on a cliff top 2 days before your actual wedding ceremony with all your family and friends, do it. Why not?
Yeah.
And surprise everyone. Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So, Kelly, thank you so much for your time today on the podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We love having
I'll
you.
accept payment in any way you would like. My BSB number is no.
So our couples can find you on Instagram. Would you be able to tell us what your handle is?
It's at Found Collective Events. That's our Instagram.
And then on Facebook,
I think just Found Collective.
Yep. And then your
website
is
www.foundcollective.com.au.
Excellent.
And you can find us on Pinterest too if you're interested.
Oh, amazing.
Probably don't pin enough, but just search Found Collective. You'll find us there.
If there's a topic that you would like us to cover, or if you've got any burning questions, or if there's a particular vendor or supplier that you would love to see here on the podcast or listen to, we'd love for you to DM us on Instagram, and you can ask us away or tell us all about what you'd love to hear. We would really love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for listening to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple.
Till next time.
Woohoo!
Woo!
We're so annoying.
Yeah.